barn roof caved in during the night. Sarah Bennett stood in the freezing mud, staring at the hole in the wood. Her breath made clouds in the morning air. The cattle were making noise behind her. Scared noise. She wanted to cry, but crying wouldn't fix anything. "Mama, what happened?" Her daughter Emma stood at the farmhouse door. She was 7 years old. She wore the pink jacket with the tear on the sleeve, the one Sarah couldn't afford to replace. "The barn broke, baby. Stay inside where it's warm." Emma went back in. The door closed. Sarah pulled her phone from her pocket. She checked her bank account again. Maybe the number would be different this time. It wasn't. $412. The mortgage payment was $3,000. Due in 8 days. After that, she had 52 days before the bank took everything. Before we continue, if you are new on this channel, please click on the like and subscribe button. Comment where you are watching this story from. God bless you richly. Let's continue. Sarah walked closer to the barn. The roof had fallen onto the hay. If the cattle couldn't stay warm this winter, they would die. Without the cattle, she had no income. Without income, she lost the ranch. Her parents built this ranch 40 years ago. Her father died here. Her mother died here. This land held every memory Sarah had of being loved. And now, a stupid roof was going to take it all away. She heard a truck on the gravel road. Sarah turned. An old red pickup was coming up the driveway. She didn't recognize it. The truck stopped near the fence. A man got out. He was tall, maybe 35. He wore a heavy brown coat and work boots. His face had stubble on it. His eyes were blue, very blue. "Morning," he said. His voice was deep and quiet. "Morning," Sarah said. She didn't smile. Strangers made her nervous. "Saw your barn from the road," the man said. He walked closer but stopped a few feet away. "That happened recently?" "Last night." He looked at the barn. He looked at the cattle. He looked back at Sarah. "You need help fixing it?" Sarah crossed her arms. "I don't have money to pay anyone." "I wasn't asking for money." She stared at him. "Then what do you want?" "A place to stay for a while. Maybe some food. I'll fix your barn." Fair trade. Sarah's heart beat faster. This sounded too good. Things that sounded too good were usually lies. "Why would you do that?" she asked. The man shrugged. "I'm passing through. I need somewhere to stop for a few weeks." "You need a roof fixed." Seems simple. "Where are you coming from?" "East." "Where are you going?" "West." He wasn't giving her real answers. That was a bad sign. But Sarah looked at the barn again. She looked at the cattle. She thought about Emma inside the house, asking questions Sarah couldn't answer. She needed help, badly. "What's your name?" she asked. "Marcus." "Just Marcus?" "Just Marcus." Another non-answer. Sarah took a deep breath. "I'm Sarah. This is the Bennett Ranch. If you're lying to me, I have a shotgun in the house." Marcus almost smiled. "Noted. You can stay in the guest cabin behind the barn. It's small. Heat works, but the shower is cold." "That's fine. I cook dinner at 6. You eat with us or you don't eat." "Fair enough." Sarah pointed at the barn. "You really know how to fix roofs?" "I do." "Then get started. Lumber is in the shed. Tools are there too." Marcus nodded. He walked toward the shed without saying anything else. Sarah watched him go. Something felt wrong about this. Men didn't just appear and offer free help. Not in her experience. But she didn't have choices anymore. She went back to the house. Emma was at the kitchen table eating cereal. "Who is that man, Mama?" "Someone who's going to fix the barn." "Is he nice?" Sarah didn't know how to answer that. "I hope so, baby." The day passed slowly. Sarah checked on the cattle. She fixed the fence on the east side. She avoided looking at Marcus too much, but she could hear him working. The sound of hammering, the sound of wood being moved. At noon, she brought him a sandwich and water. He was on top of the barn, pulling away broken boards. "Lunch," she called up. He climbed down. He took the food. "Thank you. How bad is it?" "Bad, but fixable. I'll need 3 days, maybe 4. 3 days. Sarah could handle a stranger for 3 days. "Okay," she said. She turned to leave. "Sarah," she stopped, turned back. Marcus was looking at her with those blue eyes. "You're in trouble, aren't you?" Her stomach dropped. "Why would you say that?" "The fence has holes. The paint on the house is peeling. You're alone with a kid on a ranch that needs 5 people to run it, and you're letting a stranger stay here because you can't pay for real help." Sarah's face got hot, angry hot. "My problems are mine. You just fix the roof." "I'm not judging. I'm just saying, if you need more help than the roof, I can do more." "Why?" "Maybe I like fixing things." Sarah wanted to trust him. She wanted to believe someone kind had finally walked into her life. But trust was expensive. She'd learned that the hard way. "Just the roof," she said. Marcus nodded. "Just the roof." That night at dinner, Emma talked nonstop. She told Marcus about her school, about her teacher, about her friend who had a trampoline. Marcus listened. He didn't talk much, but he smiled at Emma in a way that made Sarah's chest feel tight. After Emma went to bed, Sarah sat on the porch. The air was cold. Winter was coming fast. She heard boots on the gravel. Marcus walked up. He held a piece of paper. "Found this nailed to your fence post," he said. Sarah's hands started shaking before she even took it. It was a notice from the bank. Final warning. Payment due November 15th. Failure to pay will result in foreclosure proceedings. She read it twice. Her vision got blurry. "Sarah." She looked up at Marcus. His face was serious now. Different. "How much do you owe?" he asked. $53,000 total. Marcus didn't blink. "And you have?" $400. The wind blew between them, cold and sharp. "There's something you should know," Marcus said quietly. Sarah's heart stopped. "What?" Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at the paper in her hands. He looked at the dark fields beyond the porch. "The bank that holds your loan," he said slowly. "Stone Banking Corporation. Do you know who owns it?" "Some rich person." "I don't know." "Why does it matter?" Marcus took a step closer. His blue eyes locked on hers. "It matters," he said, "because..." A car pulled into the driveway, fast, headlights cutting through the dark. Sarah and Marcus both turned. A black SUV stopped in front of the house. Two men in suits got out. Sarah's blood went cold. She knew these men. They'd come before. "Ms. Bennett," the first man called. He had a sharp voice, a cruel smile. "We need to talk about your property." Marcus moved. He stepped in front of Sarah, blocking her. "She doesn't want to talk tonight," Marcus said. His voice had changed. It wasn't quiet anymore. It was stone. The man in the suit looked at Marcus. His smile got wider. "And who are you?" Marcus didn't answer right away. The silence stretched. Then Marcus said something that made Sarah's world tilt sideways. "I'm the person who decides whether she keeps this ranch or not." Sarah grabbed Marcus's arm, hard. "What did you just say?" The men in suits were staring at Marcus now. One of them pulled out his phone. He looked at the screen. Then he looked at Marcus again. His face went pale. "Mr. Stone," the man said quickly. "We didn't know you were here. Mr. Stone, Stone Banking Corporation." Sarah's hand dropped from Marcus's arm. She took a step back. "You own the bank?" Her voice came out like a whisper. Marcus didn't look at her. He kept his eyes on the two men. "Leave," Marcus said to them, "now." "But sir, we were just following protocol." "I don't care. Get off this property." The men got back in their SUV. Fast. The engine started. The headlights swung around. Then they were gone. Dust hung in the air where the car had been. Sarah couldn't breathe right. Her chest felt tight. Marcus turned to face her. "Sarah, let me explain. You lied to me." The words came out sharp, angry. "You've been lying since you got here." "I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing." Sarah's voice got louder. She didn't care. "You own the bank that's taking my ranch. And you've been here for 3 days pretending to be some drifter who needs a place to stay?" "I wasn't pretending about wanting to help." "Why are you even here, Marcus?" "Or is that a lie too? Is your name really Marcus?" "My name is Marcus Stone." That part was true. Don't forget to share this story with someone who loves a good plot twist, and comment below. Should Sarah kick him out or hear him out? Sarah felt sick. She sat down on the porch steps. Her legs wouldn't hold her up anymore. Marcus sat down next to her, not too close, but close enough that she could hear him breathing. "I came here because I wanted to see the place for myself," Marcus said quietly. "Your ranch. I bought your debt 3 months ago when the previous bank sold it. Why would you buy my debt?" "Because Stone Banking Corporation buys a lot of debt. That's what we do. We buy struggling loans and either restructure them or foreclose." The word foreclose hit Sarah like a punch. "So you came here to decide if you're going to take my home." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I came here to see if it was worth saving. And I think it is." Sarah laughed. It was a bitter sound. "Great. The billionaire thinks my life is worth saving. I feel so much better now." "Sarah, don't." She stood up. "Don't say my name like we're friends. Friends don't lie. Friends don't show up in disguise to spy on you." "I wasn't spying. I was trying to understand." "Understand what?" Why you're fighting so hard for this place? Most people in your situation would have walked away by now, but you're still here, still trying. I wanted to know why. Sarah's throat got tight. She hated that she wanted to cry in front of him. This ranch is all I have, she said. It's all Emma has. My parents built it from nothing. They worked every single day of their lives to keep it running. When they died, they left it to me, and I promised them I wouldn't let it die too. Marcus nodded slowly. I understand that now. Do you? Do you really? Or are you just saying words? My father built stone banking from nothing too, Marcus said. He died 5 years ago, left the whole company to me. I didn't want it. I wanted to be a carpenter, but I took it anyway because it was his dream. So yeah, Sarah, I understand. The anger in Sarah's chest got quieter, not gone, but quieter. She sat back down on the steps. They didn't talk for a while. The wind blew cold across the fields. Somewhere in the dark, the cattle were moving around. What happens now? Sarah asked finally. That depends on you. On me? You're the one with all the power here. Power doesn't mean control, Marcus said. You have choices. I'm just telling you what they are. Okay, so tell me. Marcus turned to look at her. His blue eyes were serious. Choice 1. I forgive the entire debt. You keep the ranch free and clear, no strings attached. Sarah's heart jumped. You would do that? I could, but I won't. The hope died as fast as it came. Why not? Because you wouldn't accept it. You'd feel like you owed me. You'd hate yourself for taking charity. And you'd probably hate me too. He was right. Sarah hated that he was right. What's choice 2? She asked. You sell me half the ranch. I give you enough money to pay off the debt and fix everything that's broken. We run it together. Together as partners. Equal ownership. Equal decisions. Sarah stared at him. You want to be a rancher? I told you. I like fixing things. And I meant it when I said I need a place to stay for a while. For how long? Marcus looked out at the dark fields. I don't know yet. Maybe a few months. Maybe longer. This was insane. All of it. Sarah tried to think clearly, but her brain felt foggy. What's choice 3? She asked. Marcus's face got harder, colder. Choice 3 is I do nothing. The foreclosure happens in 52 days. You lose everything. I sell the land to a development company that's been asking about it. They'll bulldoze the ranch and build condos. Sarah felt like someone had dumped ice water on her. You would really do that? If you force me to. Yes, that's cruel. It's business. Sarah wanted to hit him. She wanted to scream. But mostly, she just wanted this whole nightmare to be over. I need time to think, she said. You have until tomorrow night. After that, I'm making the decision for you. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Sarah. You know that better than anyone. He stood up. He walked toward the guest cabin. Sarah sat alone on the porch. The cold air bit at her face. She thought about her parents. About Emma sleeping inside, about the cattle that needed shelter, about the roof that Marcus had almost finished fixing. She thought about the way he'd looked at her when he said he understood. She thought about the way he'd lied. Could she trust a man who'd lied from the start, even if he was offering to save her? The door behind her opened. Emma came out in her pajamas. Mama? Why are you sitting in the cold? Sarah pulled Emma onto her lap. She wrapped her arms around her daughter. Just thinking, baby. About what? About choices. Emma yawned. I'm good at choices. What are the choices? Sarah almost laughed. If only it were that simple. It's complicated, Em. Is it about the man? Marcus? Yeah, it's about him. Emma was quiet for a second. Then she said, I like him. Why? He fixed my doll's arm today. Remember? The one that fell off? He used glue and tape and made it work again. He didn't have to do that, but he did. Sarah's throat got tight again. That was nice of him, she said quietly. He's nice, Mama, I can tell. Sarah kissed the top of Emma's head. Let's get you back to bed. She carried Emma inside, tucked her in, turned off the light. Then Sarah went to her own room. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling. She didn't sleep. The next morning, Marcus finished the barn roof. Sarah watched him work from the kitchen window. He moved like someone who'd done this before, like someone who knew what he was doing. At lunch, she brought him food again, sandwiches and coffee. Thank you, he said. You're welcome. They ate in silence. After a while, Marcus said, Have you decided? Not yet. You have until tonight. I know. More silence. Then Sarah asked the question that had been burning in her mind all night. Why did you really come here, Marcus? The truth this time. Marcus set down his sandwich. He looked at her straight on. Because I'm tired, he said. I'm tired of sitting in boardrooms making decisions about people I've never met. I'm tired of being the bad guy who takes homes and businesses. I wanted to see what it actually looked like, what it felt like, and when I saw your file, something about it stuck with me. Single mom, fighting alone, refusing to quit. I had to know if you were real or just numbers on a page. And now you know? You're real, Sarah. You're the most real thing I've seen in years. The way he said it made Sarah's heart beat faster. She looked away. That doesn't change the fact that you lied. I know, and I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry I came. Sarah stood up. I'll give you my answer tonight, at dinner. Okay. She walked back to the house. Her hands were shaking. That afternoon, Sarah checked the mail. There was another letter from the bank. This one was worse than the last. Final notice. Foreclosure proceedings will begin November 16th unless full payment is received. November 16th was in 7 days. Sarah sat at the kitchen table. She put her head in her hands. The front door opened. Marcus walked in without knocking. Emma let me in, he said. She's outside playing. Sarah didn't look up. What do you want? I want to show you something. I'm busy. Sarah, please. She lifted her head. Marcus was holding a folder. What is that? She asked. Open it. She took the folder. Inside were papers, legal papers. She read the top page, then read it again. It was a deed for the Bennett Ranch. Her name was on it. Sarah Bennett, sole owner. What is this? She whispered. It's choice 4, Marcus said quietly. I forgive the debt. You keep the ranch. I leave tomorrow. You never see me again. Sarah's hands started shaking harder. You said you wouldn't do this. You said I'd hate it. I changed my mind. I don't want you to have to choose between your pride and your home. It's not fair. Tears started falling down Sarah's face. She couldn't stop them. Why are you doing this? Marcus knelt down in front of her chair. He looked up at her with those blue eyes. Because I'm in love with you, Sarah. The world stopped. What? I know it's crazy. I know I've only been here 3 days. But I'm in love with you, the way you fight, the way you love Emma, the way you won't quit no matter what. You're everything I've been looking for and didn't know I needed. Sarah couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Marcus, I'm not asking you to love me back. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed you to know why I'm doing this. You deserve to keep your home, and I deserve to know I did one good thing with all this money I didn't earn. He stood up. He started walking toward the door. Sarah's voice came out rough. Wait! Marcus stopped, turned around. If you leave tomorrow, Sarah said slowly, what happens to you? I go back to the city, back to the boardrooms, back to being the bad guy. And if you stay, then I help you run this ranch. I fix what's broken. I be here for you and Emma, if you'll have me. Sarah wiped her eyes. Her heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I don't know if I can trust you yet, she said. You lied to me. That doesn't go away in one day, I know. But Sarah took a deep breath. I don't want you to leave. Marcus's face changed. Hope crossed it like sunrise. You don't? No, I don't, because Emma was right. You are nice, and I think I might be falling in love with you too, even though it's crazy, even though it's scary. Marcus walked back to her, slowly. He stopped right in front of her chair. What do you want me to do, Sarah? She stood up. They were inches apart now. Stay, she whispered. Stay and help me save this place. Be my partner, for real. Are you sure? No, but I'm choosing to trust you anyway. Marcus smiled, really smiled. For the first time since she'd met him. Then the front door burst open. Emma ran in, screaming, Mama! Mama! There's a fire. The cabin is on fire. Sarah and Marcus ran outside. The guest cabin was burning. Flames were coming out the windows. Black smoke rose into the sky. How did this happen? Sarah yelled. Marcus's face went white. My briefcase. All my papers. Everything about stone banking. Evidence of every property we own. Everything. A truck pulled up, fast and loud. 3 men got out. Men Sarah didn't recognize. The one in front smiled. It was a snake smile. Well, the man said. Marcus Stone, we finally found you. Marcus moved in front of Sarah and Emma. Protective. Who are you? He demanded. We're from Titan Development, the company that wanted to buy this land, and you just made our job a whole lot easier. The man pulled out a gun. Sarah's scream cut through the air. Marcus pushed Sarah and Emma behind him. Get in the house, he said. His voice was calm, too calm. Lock the doors. Call 911. I'm not leaving you, Sarah said. Sarah, go, now. The man with the gun laughed. Nobody's calling anyone. Steve, get their phones. One of the other men walked forward. He was big, mean-looking. Sarah held Emma tight. She could feel her daughter shaking. Marcus didn't move. He stood between them and the gun. "What do you want?" Marcus asked. The man with the gun stepped closer. "What we've always wanted. This land. Your company has been blocking our purchase for 3 months. But now you're here, alone. No security, no lawyers. Just you and your new little family. This land isn't for sale. Everything's for sale, Mr. Stone. You of all people should know that." Sarah's mind was racing. The cabin was still burning. The flames were getting bigger. If they spread to the barn, the whole ranch would go up. She had to do something. If this story has you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and drop a comment telling me what Sarah should do next. Your ideas fuel these stories. Let them go, Marcus said. This is between you and me. They have nothing to do with it. Oh, but they do. See, we did our research. We know you bought this ranch's debt. We know you've been staying here. And we know that if something happened to you, the debt defaults to the next owner in line, which would be us. We made sure of that. Sarah's stomach dropped. What does that mean? The man smiled at her. It means if Marcus here dies, we get everything. The debt, the ranch, all of it. You're insane, Marcus said. I'm a businessman, just like you. The big man named Steve was almost at the porch now. He held out his hand. Phones, both of you. Sarah didn't move. Steve pulled out his own gun. He pointed it at Emma. I said phones. Sarah's hands shook as she pulled her phone from her pocket. She handed it over. Marcus did the same. Steve smashed both phones on the ground. The screen shattered. Good, the first man said. Now here's what's going to happen. There's going to be a terrible accident. The cabin fire spreads. The whole ranch burns down. And sadly, the new owner, Marcus Stone, dies trying to save it. Very heroic, very tragic. People will ask questions, Marcus said. My company will investigate. Let them investigate. All they'll find is an accident. We've done this before, Mr. Stone. We're very good at it. Sarah felt Emma's face pressed against her leg. Her daughter was crying silently. Sarah's mind went to the shotgun. It was inside the house, in the closet by the front door. If she could get inside, if she could reach it. But the door was 10 feet away, and there were 3 men with guns. She'd never make it, unless someone distracted them. Sarah looked at Marcus. He was staring at the burning cabin. His jaw was tight. Then he looked at her, just for a second, and she saw it in his eyes. He was going to do something dangerous. Wait, Marcus said loudly. I'll give you what you want. The man with the gun tilted his head. Oh? I'll sign over the ranch right now. I have papers in my truck, legal documents. I'll sign everything over to Titan Development. Just let them go. The man considered this. Where's your truck? Behind the barn. Steve, go check. The big man walked toward the barn. That left 2 men with guns. Better odds, but not good enough. Sarah's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Marcus started walking toward the barn. Come on, I'll show you. Stop, the man said. I don't trust you. Marcus stopped. He turned around. Then shoot me now and get it over with, but you won't get the ranch. My lawyers will fight you for years. You'll spend millions, all because you were too paranoid to let me give you what you want. The man thought about this. Sarah could see him thinking. Fine, he said finally. But the woman and kid come too. Insurance. No. Marcus's face went hard. That wasn't the deal. I'm changing the deal. The second man grabbed Sarah's arm hard. She gasped. Let go of my mama. Emma screamed. The man yanked Sarah forward. She stumbled. Emma fell. That's when everything happened at once. Marcus lunged at the man holding Sarah. He was fast, faster than Sarah expected. He hit the man in the throat. The man made a choking sound and let go. Run, Marcus yelled. Sarah grabbed Emma and ran toward the house, toward the shotgun. A gunshot cracked through the air. Sarah screamed, but she didn't stop running. She hit the front door, yanked it open, pulled Emma inside. Under the table, Sarah said. Hide, don't come out. Emma crawled under the kitchen table. Her eyes were huge and terrified. Sarah ran to the closet. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely open it. The shotgun was there, right where it always was. She grabbed it, checked if it was loaded. It was. She ran back to the front door, looked outside. Marcus was on the ground. The man was standing over him, gun pointed down. You just made this much harder than it needed to be, the man said. Sarah stepped onto the porch. She raised the shotgun. Get away from him. The man turned, saw her, saw the gun. He smiled. "You won't shoot me. Try me. Lady, you're shaking so hard you can't even hold that thing steady. You've never shot anyone in your life." He was right. Sarah had never shot a person, never even thought about it. But she thought about Emma under that table. She thought about Marcus bleeding on the ground. She thought about her parents and their dream and everything she was about to lose. She steadied her hands. "Last chance," she said. "Leave, now." The man raised his gun, pointed it at her. "You first." Sarah pulled the trigger. The shotgun kicked hard. The sound was deafening. The man screamed. He grabbed his shoulder. Blood poured between his fingers. His gun fell to the ground. Sarah pumped the shotgun, ready to fire again. "Anyone else want to try me?" she yelled. Steve came running from the barn. He saw his boss on the ground, saw Sarah with the gun. He stopped. "Drop it," Sarah said. Steve dropped his gun. The third man was already running. He got in the truck. The engine started. He drove off fast, leaving his partners behind. Sarah kept the gun pointed at Steve. On the ground, face down, hands behind your head. Steve did what she said. Marcus got up slowly. He was holding his side. Blood was on his shirt. "Marcus!" Sarah wanted to run to him, but she couldn't. She had to keep the gun on Steve. "I'm okay," Marcus said. His voice was tight with pain. "It just grazed me." Sirens sounded in the distance. Someone must have seen the fire and called it in. Thank God. Sarah's arms were shaking from holding the shotgun, but she didn't lower it. The fire trucks came first. Then the police. Then an ambulance. Sarah finally put the gun down. She ran to Marcus. He was sitting on the porch steps. A paramedic was working on his side. "You're hurt," Sarah said. Tears were streaming down her face now. "I'm fine. Just a scratch." "That's more than a scratch," Marcus smiled. Even bleeding and hurt, he smiled. "I've had worse." The police arrested Steve and the man Sarah had shot. They took statements, asked 100 questions. Sarah told them everything. About the debt, about Marcus, about Titan development. The police chief looked at Marcus. "You're lucky to be alive, Mr. Stone. These men have a record. 3 other landowners died in accidents in the past 2 years, all properties that Titan wanted." Marcus's face went pale. "I had no idea. They're good at covering their tracks, but not this time. You two just broke this case wide open." After the police left, the firefighters got the cabin fire under control. It was destroyed. Nothing left but burned wood and ash. But the barn was safe. The house was safe. The ranch was safe. Emma came out from under the table. She ran to Sarah. "Is it over, Mama?" Sarah held her tight, so tight. "Yeah, baby, it's over." Emma looked at Marcus. "Are you okay?" "I'm okay, kiddo. Thanks to your mom. She's pretty brave." "I know," Emma said proudly. That night, after Emma was asleep, Sarah and Marcus sat on the porch again. The same porch where everything had started 3 days ago. It felt like a lifetime ago. Marcus's side was bandaged. The paramedics had wanted him to go to the hospital, but he'd refused. "Stubborn," Sarah had said. "Takes one to know one," he'd replied. Now they sat in the quiet. The stars were out, bright and cold. "I'm sorry," Marcus said. Sarah looked at him. "For what?" "For bringing this danger to your door. If I hadn't come here, those men never would have found you. If you hadn't come here, my barn roof would still be caved in, and I'd be losing this ranch in a week." Still, Sarah reached over. She took his hand. "You saved my life today. You put yourself between me and a gun. You don't get to apologize for that." Marcus looked at their hands together. "I meant what I said yesterday, about being in love with you." Sarah's heart did that flip thing again. "I know. Do you still feel the same?" After everything that happened, Sarah thought about it, really thought about it. This man had lied to her, but he'd also been honest when it mattered. He'd protected her, fought for her, almost died for her. And somewhere in the past 3 days, her heart had made a decision her brain was still catching up to. "Yeah," she said quietly. "I still feel the same." Marcus smiled, that real smile that made his whole face different. "So what happens now?" he asked. "Now?" Sarah looked out at the dark fields, at the barn with its new roof, at the ranch that had almost been taken from her. "Now we figure out how to run this place together, as partners. Equal partners, equal partners. What about the debt?" Sarah had almost forgotten about the debt. With everything that had happened, the foreclosure notice seemed like a problem from another life. "The papers you brought," she said. "The ones that forgave the debt. Are those real, or did you just say that?" "They're real. They're in my truck, locked in the glove box. I had my lawyer draw them up a week ago. Just in case. A week ago? But you only got here 3 days ago. Marcus looked embarrassed. I was planning this for a while. I needed to work up the courage to actually come. Sarah couldn't help it. She laughed. The billionaire needed courage to visit a broke rancher? The billionaire was terrified you'd see right through him and kick him out. I almost did. I know. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Sarah asked the question she'd been holding back. What about your company, Stone Banking? You can't run it from here. I've been thinking about that, Marcus said. I could sell it, or I could hire people I trust to run it while I'm here. Either way, I'm not going back to that life. Not full time. Not anymore. You'd really give it all up? For this? Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. Sarah, I'd give up everything for this. For you. For Emma. For the chance to build something real instead of just managing numbers on a screen. Sarah felt tears starting again. Happy tears this time. I think my parents would have liked you, she said softly. Yeah? Yeah. My dad always said the measure of a man is what he does when nobody's watching. You could have stayed away, foreclosed from a distance. But you came here. You fixed my roof with your own hands. That says something. Marcus squeezed her hand. Your parents built something incredible here. I promise I'll help you protect it. I know you will. The front door opened. Emma came out in her pajamas. Again, I can't sleep, she said. Sarah started to get up, but Emma walked straight to Marcus. Can you tell me a story? She asked him. Marcus looked surprised. A story? Mama's stories are good, but they're always about princesses. I want a story about cowboys and ranches. Marcus glanced at Sarah. She nodded, smiled. Okay, Marcus said. He shifted so Emma could sit next to him. Let me tell you about a man who had everything but felt like he had nothing. Until one day, he met a woman who showed him what real courage looked like. Emma settled in. Is it a true story? Yeah, kiddo, it's a true story. Sarah listened to Marcus tell their story. He changed some details, made it simpler for Emma, made himself less of a hero and Sarah more of one. Emma's eyes got heavy. She leaned against Marcus. He kept talking until she was asleep. She likes you, Sarah whispered. I like her too. She reminds me of you. Tough, smart, doesn't take no for an answer. Sarah felt something shift in her chest, something big and permanent. This man, this strange, complicated, wonderful man, he was going to stay. They were going to make this work. The ranch was saved, Emma was safe, and Sarah's heart, which had been closed for so long, was opening up again. Marcus, she said softly. Yeah? Thank you for everything. He looked at her in the starlight. Thank you for giving me a chance, for trusting me even when I didn't deserve it. You earned it. I'll keep earning it. Every day. Sarah believed him. They sat there for a long time, the three of them, under the stars, in the quiet. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The ranch still needed work. There would be questions from the media about the Titan development arrests. Marcus would have to deal with his company. But tonight, right now, everything was exactly as it should be. The poor farmhand who was actually a billionaire rancher, the struggling single mom who found love in the middle of crisis, and the little girl who just wanted her family to be whole. Sometimes the best stories are the ones that start with a lie and end with the truth. This was one of those stories. The end. If you love this story, please like, share, and comment below. Tell me, would you trust someone who lied to you at first if they turned out to be your perfect match? And what story should I tell next? Your engagement helps me create more stories like this one. Thank you for listening.